Good evening and welcome. This is Spectrum TV News at 9. I am Uyai Anyeka and coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. Let's take a look at the headlines. Federal government sues Stella Odua over alleged felony document falsification. Others. Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Umoino inspects international market project at Eket local government area. Plus, U.S. President Biden meets British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, King Charles, ahead of NATO summit. We'll bring you details of these stories and more in a moment. Good evening and welcome. First in the news tonight is a report that the federal government has filed an 8-count charge against former Minister of Aviation Stella Odua at a federal high court in Abuja, accusing her of falsely claiming to have lost her National Youth Service Corps NYSC certificate, among other allegations. The charge was filed on June 26, 2023, according to court documents made available to newsmen today. This comes amid controversy over alleged falsified documents through Tertiary Education Trust Fund, says it is determined to bridge the digital skills gap between industries and schools. This is as the Executive Secretary, TED Fund, Sonny Echono, said the government has drafted a policy to ensure that students in higher institutions acquire digital skills for beneficiary institutions in North Central Zone. Echono said that bridging the digital skills gap would help produce graduates that are globally competitive. According to him, the need for capacity building, internet access availability, electronic journals, database subscription, and many others have been identified in their various institutions. In a related development, the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TED Fund, has mandated members of the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, to henceforth help in monitoring projects executed in various institutions across the country. Executive Secretary of TED Fund, Sonny Echono, gave the students body the mandates today. Echono decried the poor hostel accommodation for students, insisting that the fund would, in the near future, channel more resources to build a conducive one for them. He said students were at the core of any development program of the new government, hence their interest was also of great concern in its intervention efforts. While stressing the need for equipping students with skills and rights support, Echono noted that TED Fund would like the students to be its eye in various institutions, reporting erring contractors to ensure transparency in the system. To Nigeria's leader now, where President Bola Tinubu has been confirmed as the new chairman of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. Tinubu, whose succeed emergence was announced at the 63rd ordinary session of the Authority of Heads of State and Government of ECOWAS. The Nigerian leader, who is the latest entrant into the exclusive club of heads of state in West Africa, pledged to bear the responsibility of the office and run an inclusive administration of the regional organization.
We will not allow coup after coup West Africa separation. We will take this up seriously with African Union and the European Union and Britain and America. Take it up. It's a challenge. Yes, democracy is very tough to manage, but it's the best form of government. Can't sit like toothless bulldog and ECOWAS. For the confidence reposed in me, I pledge to you, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, that I will do my best. I am just new. This is my first. I'm giving a surprise package. We work collectively to pursue inclusive economic integration of West Africa sub-region. We should serve a warning to exploiters.
In a related development, the Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, NASIMA, has congratulated President Tinubu on his election as the chairman of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. NASIMA's president, Dele Oyin, was positioning its member state ready to be well integrated into African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA. The NASIMA president stressed the need to address some of the challenges confronting intra-West African trade, identifying the challenges to include cumbersome procedures, high cost of transportation, and corruption. Away from that, Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Benjamin Kalu, has expressed grief over the death of former president of Ohaneze Ndigbo worldwide, Professor Joe Iruku, describing him as a statesman who gave his all in the service of his fatherland. Kalu, in a statement he personally signed and issued in Abuja today, further described Iruku as an Iroko. Growth and development. Kalu expressed heartfelt condolences to the late university don's immediate family, the people of Omuakwe, Item, Governor Alex Oti, and the people of Abia State, Ohaneze Ndigbo. The Nigerian bars for repose of the soul of the deceased. Moving now to judiciary, a federal high court in Abuja has fixed September 28th for judgment in a suit praying the court to order INEC to delete Timipre Sylvia's name from list of candidates contesting the Bayelsa November 11 governorship poll. The suit was filed by Chief Demosifa Kolomo, a member of the All Progressives Congress APC. Justice Donatoya Babayemi Olaniyan, including that of the APC Dennis Otiotio, adopted their processes and presented their arguments for and against the matter. The Damawa resident electoral commissioner Reg Hudu Yunusa Ari over his declaration of Aisha Dahiru, the All Progressives Congress APC candidate, as governor in the March 18 poll. Justice Donato Sokorowo made the order after Michael Okadaha San, counsel to Dahiru, moved the ex parte motion to the effect. In the ex parte motion, the APC candidate in the poll sued INEC, the Attorney General of the Federation, AGF, and another respondent, Andoka, while moving the motion today, argued that until the Election Petition Tribunal decides the fate of his client in accordance with Section 149 of the Electoral Act 2022, the prosecution of Yunusa Ari cannot be said to be valid. In another development, the Police Service Commission has approved the appointment of new commissioners of police for Bayelsa and Borno State commands. The newly appointed commissioners are Alausa Tolani for Bayelsa State and Yusuf Lawal for Borno State. A statement by the Commission spokesperson Ikechukwu Ani today said the Commission approved the appointment at the ongoing 21st plenary at its corporate headquarters in Abuja. They dislodged criminal elements from their commands. In politics, the National Caucus and National Executive Committee NEC meeting of the All Progressives Congress APC has been postponed. APC's NEC meeting scheduled for today and tomorrow was postponed to July 18th and 19th. The shift was announced by APC's National Secretary Iola Omishore via a statement. Omishore said the shift in dates was due to President Bola Tinubu's engagement as the new chairman of the Economic Community of West African States. He expressed regret over the inconveniences the shift in date might have caused. Still in politics, governors elected on the platform of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) will be meeting to deliberate on the state of affairs in the main opposition party. The meeting, which is billed to hold tomorrow, is being convened by the chairman of the PDP Governors Forum, Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State. All the party's 13 governors are expected to attend the meeting, which is scheduled to hold. CID Manbom said the meeting will also discuss the state of the nation, especially recent developments in the Kanga Zulum of Borno has announced total ban on metal scavenging in the state with immediate effect. The governor today said that an executive order will be issued to that effect. Zulum announced the ban when cited metal vandalizers have lost their lives to insurgents in the bid to vandalize suspects for vandalizing Nitel communication mast in Chiki village, Chibok local government area. In another development, the management of the National Youth Service Corps (NYSC) has announced the change of venue for the 2023 Batch B Stream 1 Orientation Foundation by Buken Academy Daudu, temporary NYSC orientation camp in Jos South local government area. In a statement, the NYSC Director, Press and Public Relations Eddie Mengwa advised Corps members to note the new development. The scheme called on all prospective Corps members to report at the new orientation camp on the date specified in their call-up letters. In the meantime, Governor Rotimi Akeredolu of Ondo State has written to the State House of Assembly requesting for an extension of his medical leave. The Speaker of the Assembly, Olamide Oladiji, confirmed the receipt of the letter in Akure, the state's capital. Akeredolu said in the letter that the request was sequel to doctors' advice on the need for him to take adequate rest after recuperating. Receiving the letter on behalf of other lawmakers, the Speaker said the governor's action was in line with Section 190 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. Oladiji, who expressed appreciation to God for the speedy recovery of the governor, expressed optimism that he would soon resume his duties. Elsewhere, the governor of Niger State, Mohammed Umar Bago, has terminated the appointment of all political office holders appointed before May 29, 2023. According to a statement issued by the Secretary to the State Government, Abubakar Usman, today, Governor Bago ordered the dissolution and termination of the appointments with immediate effect. The governor also dissolved all statutory commissions, board or not tenure, are also affected by the dissolution and urged concerned officials to comply immediately with the directive. Back here, Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Omoyino today inspected the International Market Project at Eket local government area in his determined efforts to reinvigorate economic activities and provide a conducive environment for traders to engage in their business ventures. In an interview with Government House reporters shortly after inspecting the market, Governor Omoyino, who restated his commitment to completing the project, to underscore his campaign promise of taking over projects executed by his predecessors and ensuring its completion, emphasized that government is a continuum. He acknowledged that the COVID-19 pandemic halted the project in its advanced stage of execution, stressing that it must be completed and put to use to enable the state government to rid the streets of traders, which have become a nuisance to the beauty of the metropolis and pedestrians. Earlier, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Trade and Investment, Oliver Udokwo, who conducted the governor around the project, explained that the market, built on 2 floors, has 2,800 stalls and a large parking space to accommodate the customers and traders coming for transactions in the market. He hinted that the government will acquire the shop, which is expected to be repaid in 5 years. Government House correspondent Jane Uwa reports that the governor was accompanied by top government functionaries, including the Deputy Governor Dr. Akon Eyarenyi, Secretary to the State Government Prince Enobong Uwa, and the Permanent Secretary of Ministry of Trade and Investment Oliver Udokpo, amongst others. Has warned individuals and groups obstructing development projects with hurriedly erected and illegal structures in the state, hoping to attract compensation from government, to desist from such acts, as his administration would only pay compensation on duly certified structures. Governor Eno gave the warning at his hometown while addressing the congregation at the Apostolic Church Ikorekbene in Nset Ubiom local government area, where he, accompanied by his wife, Pastor Patience Eno, worshipped in an interdenominational Thanksgiving service to commemorate his success in the last general elections. The governor, who faulted the indiscriminate upsurge of unwarranted structures on roadsides of the community, described the act as anti-development born out of greed to rob government of funds, and ordered owners of the unsolicited buildings to dismantle them with immediate effect. He therefore directed local government council chairmen across the state to make available 100 hectares of land in their domains for development projects, explaining that the move is to enable his administration take development to the grassroots as enunciated in the Arise agenda of his administration. Government House correspondent Jane Uwa reports that high point of the event was the conferment of the Joshua Award on the governor to enable him lead the state, and the Phoebe Award on the state First Lady, Pastor Patience Eno, to strengthen her in her supportive role to the first, have been warned against route violations to avoid road accidents and arrest. The sector commander, Akwa Ibom State Command FRSC, CC Matthew Olonshaye, gave the warning while speaking with Spectrum Television in an interview. Olonshaye, while stating the dangers involved in the use of one-way, identified some penalties given to riders who violate traffic rules in the state.
Evidence to traffic lights in Akwa Ibom State on the lights in Akwa Ibom State, especially within Uyo metropolis, right? So, the best of our knowledge. As to road signs, obedience to road signs too. To some extent, from the base of our observations, majority of road users to they also obey those road signs. So we have few people, let me just say few people, not majority anyway, with this and also posing dangers to other road users. It is seen that anyone that is driving against the traffic, there are questions that one may raise. He said that individual is just trying to do that with impunity, thinking that nothing can happen, or some also believe that maybe they are in a hurry. Or you can also raise a question that someone that is driving against the traffic, is this individual, his level of sanity needs to be reviewed. That maybe this calls for some questions. This is not correct. Because if one is trying to cut short, maybe because you say you are in a hurry and you are now being lazy in turning at the appropriate location and you drive against the traffic, the maladies can occur, which can lead to unfortunate incidents. Yeah, we make sure that we arrest them and deal with them appropriately. Sanction them how they should be sanctioned. And for the purpose of this interaction, if one drives against the traffic, it amounts to dangerous driving, and they attract a fine of 50,000 naira or imprisonment of 6 months or both.
Still to come in the news. Egypt's inflation rate hits all-time high, 35.7%. Stay tuned for details after this time out.
Business exists. only to meet the needs of the people. But there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Thanks for staying tuned, and now to the rest of the news. In Africa, Gabon's President Ali Bongo Ondimba has said that he would seek a third term as the oil-rich African nation's head of state. Reports say Bongo took over from his father Omar Bongo Ondimba, the country's ruler, for 41 years in 2009. The president was narrowly re-elected in 2016 with just 5,500 more votes than rival Jinping, who claimed the election had been fixed. According to reports, the Bongo family has ruled the country for 55 years and is branded a dynastic power by the opposition. Recall that in April, still in Africa, in a blow to the Kenyan government, a court has dismissed a request by the state to lift the suspension of a new finance law, which would lead to significant tax increases. President William Ruto's government plans to double a fuel tax and other levies in order to increase its revenue to pay debt and fund projects. 10 days ago, the government said it was facing a budgetary crisis against the taxes. It will be recalled that on Friday, 3 people died and dozens were arrested when the police broke up demonstrations around the country. In the meantime, Spain's Coast Guard said today it had deployed a plane to search for 200 migrants aboard a rescue plane, which is based in the Canary Islands, was looking for a boat that left Senegal with around 200 people on board. Helena Malino, head of Spanish NGO Comendado Fronteras, that helps boats in distress, confirmed that a boat had left the southern town of Kafountine on the 27th of June with approximately 200 people on board. Meanwhile, the Atlantic route is extremely perilous because of its strong currents, with migrants often setting sail in overcrowded boats which are unseaworthy. Migrant crossings through the Atlantic began surging in late 2019 after increased patrols along Europe's southern coast dramatically reduced Mediterranean crossings. The members of the Al-Qaeda-allied Al-Shabaab militant group in recent operations involving ground and airstrikes in Somalia's Lower Juba region. Somali state media say the operations took place in Walbor village near Afamdo town. Reports say the army seized Ramro village and Haga town after destroying Al-Shabaab hideouts and weapons depot. However, Juba and the entire the Juba region in southern Somalia. It will be recalled that in August of 2022, the Somali federal government announced that it had launched a major offensive to recapture territory from Al-Shabaab. Elsewhere, Tunisian authorities have suspended the salary payment of 17,000 teachers and sacked 350 school principals. The move affects nearly a third of the country's primary school teachers and follows widespread recent protests by education staff across the country. These protests have included refusing to hand in the school grades of pupils. Meanwhile, the Tunisian government has insisted that high inflation, rising unemployment, and severe shortages of some staple foods. Still in Africa, senior officials from East African countries have suggested a military deployment to Sudan, where a 3-month war is escalating. Meeting in Ethiopia, the regional body IGAD said sending in an East African standby force could help protect civilians and guarantee humanitarian. Reports say the meeting was meant to see face-to-face talks between the Sudanese army and the rival paramilitary Rapid Support Forces RSF. However, an IGAD statement said it was regrettable that the army delegation chose not to attend. Meanwhile, human rights watch reports the French oil company Total and a Chinese state-owned oil firm signed a $10 billion deal last year to develop Ugandan oil fields and build a 1,400-kilometer pipeline to the Tanzanian port of Tanga. The New York-based have been poorly treated. The European Parliament has also denounced the project for similar reasons. Total has denied the allegations. Meanwhile, despite the criticism, President Yoweri Museveni has vowed to go ahead with the project. On the foreign scene, U.S. President Joe Biden dropped in for tea and climate change talks with King Charles III today after a garden meeting with UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak before a NATO leaders summit on Ukraine. Biden, 80, flew in his marine and helicopter from Downing Street in central London to Windsor Castle, touching down for the crowned king in May. The U.S. president did not attend the coronation but was represented by his wife, First Lady Jill Biden. The couple had been at the state funeral of Charles' mother, Queen Elizabeth II, in September last year, while Biden visited the late Queen at Windsor after the G7 summit in 2021. Meanwhile, North Korea has threatened a missile submarine near the Korean Peninsula. A spokesperson for the North's Ministry of National Defense said the United States has intensified espionage activities beyond the wartime level, with provocative flights made by U.S. spy aircraft over 8 straight days this month, and non-reconnaissance plane intruding into its airspace over the East Sea several times. The spokesperson cited past incidents when Pyongyang shot down U.S. aircraft and warned the United States would pay for its frantically staged air espionage. Meanwhile, North Korean leader Kim Jong, UN's powerful sister Kim Yong-jong, said that a U.S. spy aircraft had violated the country's eastern airspace twice today, exclusive economic zone, but warned that it would take decisive action if the U.S. military crosses its maritime military demarcation line. Still on the foreign scene, Uzbek President Shavkat Mirziyoyev has won a third term that will keep him in charge of the gas-rich country until 2030, as international observers said today. The vote had lacked genuine competition. Mirziyoyev, who was running against three, according to preliminary results, largely unknown candidate, won the election with 87% of the vote. The 65-year-old has promised to open up Uzbekistan to foreign investment and tourism and implement major reforms in Central Asia's most populous country. They also said that a number of recommendations key to the democratic process remain unaddressed. Ursula Gezek, the head of the mission, said her organization urged the country. Pakistan is wedged between Russia and China and shares a border with Afghanistan. Elsewhere, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has introduced a new condition for approving Sweden's membership in NATO, calling on European countries to open in Lithuania's capital, added new uncertainty to Sweden's bid to become the alliance's 32nd member, which Turkey initially blocked, saying Sweden was too soft on Kurdish militants and other groups that Ankara considers security threat. It was the first time that Erdogan linked his country's ambition to join the EU with Sweden's efforts to become a NATO member. Meanwhile, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz today said Sweden's push to join NATO should not be connected to Turkey's stalled Vladimir Putin has reportedly met mercenary leader Yevgeny Prigozhin after the failed Wagner Group mutiny last month. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Prigozhin, who heads the Wagner mercenary group, was among 35 people invited to the meeting in Moscow. He said that President Putin had given an assessment of the Ukraine were dropped and he was offered a move to Belarus, but the Wagner chief's current whereabouts are still unclear. And now it's time for the latest business and stock market stories. Here is Blessing Dixon.
Thank you, Yaya Nyekan. Good evening. It's another business week. I am Blessing Dixon. In the news, the annual urban inflation rate in Egypt further increased to 35.7% in June 2023, up from 32.7% in the previous month, and still well above the upper limit of the central bank 5 to 9% target range. Inflation is the rate at which prices for goods and services rise. It was the sharpest inflation rate since records began in 1958, driven by a low base effect and increased summer spending. Concurrently, Egypt recently raised prices on certain subsidized commodities such as rice and sugar. The annual core inflation rate, which excludes variable items such as food, accelerated to a record high of 41% in June from 40.3% in May and above market forecast of 40%. On a monthly basis, consumer prices slowed to 2.1% following a 2.7% increase in the previous month. In Nigeria, 28 states failed to attract capital importation in the first quarter of 2023, according to the new foreign direct investment data released by the National Bureau of Statistics (NBS). Anambra, Ekiti, Ogun, Ondo, and Niger State witnessed capital inflows. Cumulative capital inflows totaled $1.13 billion. Lagos, with $704 million, attracted the most capital in a period under review, followed by Abuja at $410.27 million and Akwa Ibom at $5.21 million. Adamawa attracted $4.5 million, Anambra $4 million, Ogun $2.09 million, Niger $1.5 million, Ondo $0.2 million, and Ekiti $0.01 million. Still in Nigeria, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection asked Google to permanently delete such apps from its App Store. This was in response to the continued harassment and defamation being meted on Nigerians by these digital lenders. It was also the newest measure implemented by the federal government to protect Nigerians from the activities of these digital lenders. Apps had full or conditional approval from the Commission to operate in the country. It's time for the Nigerian stock market. Billion shares in 14.584 deals, corresponding a market value of 22.033 billion naira, were traded. compared with last Friday's trading data. Today's data shows 50% improvement in volume, 59% improvement in total stock exchange, hit 35.2 trillion naira. An all-share index soared 1,048% raise to close at 64 listed equities participated in trading, ending with 71 gainers and 19 losers. Dangote Cement led the gainers with 10% share price appreciation, closing at 330 naira 10 kobo per share. For the losers, Farmer Deco came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 9.8, the highest volume of 198 million traded shares. This is all we have in the business package today. Do stay with UI for the rest of the news. Good evening.
Thank you, Blessing Dixon. Still to come in the news. NBA revealed plans for inaugural in-season tournament. Stay tuned for details after the break. Thanks for staying tuned, and now to the rest of the news. In health, the federal government has launched the malaria modeling program to achieve zero malaria prevalence in 2025. Speaking during the launch, Dr. Peptua Umombi said the malaria modeling initiative involves the use of data in different contexts to make decisions on malaria program and elimination. Dr. Humombi said though the prevalence of malaria in the country is at 22%, that there are improvements in care malaria by the year 2025 with data necessary for tracking and preventing the disease. Still in to meet its demands on or before July 19, 2023. The president of NAD, Dr. Emeka Oji, disclosed this in an exclusive interview with newsmen. Recall that NAD had issued a fresh 2-week ultimatum to the federal government to commence the implementation of all pending agreements it reached with the association when it embarked on a 5-day warning strike from May 17 to May 21, 2023. The association had signed a memorandum of understanding of Nigeria to discontinue the downgrading of the membership certificate issued by the West African Postgraduate Medical and Surgical Colleges and the immediate payment of all salary arrears, implementation of the consolidated medical salary structure, new hazard allowance and domestic. Over now to Isaac for the latest sports stories.
Well, thank you very much, Uyai. In sports, the NBA have revealed plans for an inaugural in-season tournament to begin on November the 3rd. The tournament will have a prize pool of roughly $18 million and will be capped by a championship game on the Final Four. It will be played in Las Vegas. Teams were assigned to a 5-team group and will play against each other. The same group winners will make the quarterfinals, as will the best two second-place teams from the groups. All tournament games except the championship will count in the standings. It has been known for some time that teams will be well in athletics. Gabby Thomas ran the 6th fastest time in history as she won the women's 200 meters at the US Championships in Oregon. The 26-year-old clocked 21.60 seconds, the quickest time of the year, pipping Sha'Carri Richardson to the title. The win prevented Richardson winning a sprint double after Jackson ran 21.71 at the Jamaican Championships. Well, Thomas responded again in the final, securing her spot at next month's World Championships in Budapest, where she would continue her rivalry with Richardson for throwing her racket. The qualifier, who had already been warned of hurling her racket after losing the second set, received the point penalty that gave Madison Keys match point in the 4th round encounter. Driver saved that point but went on to lose 3-6, 7-6, 7-4, 6-2. She did not that the official had made the wrong decision in the second warning, which came at deuce at 5-2 in the third set after she ran to retrieve a deep ball to her right and appeared to lose her footing. She touched the grass with her left hand before her right arm came over the top and the racket hit the ground by force. It had a second win at the same stage in 2015, and the 28-year-old would take on the winner of Monday's fourth-round clash between Arina Sabalenka and Ekaterina Alexandrova. It was still in tennis. Novak Djokovic reached the quarterfinals at Wimbledon by completing victory over Hubert Hurkacz when the pair returned to finish today. Djokovic was linked by 2 sets when they were first off on court 7-6, 4-6, 6-4. Third seed Dani Medvedev reached the last 8 for the first time as Czech opponent Jiri Lehecka retired. Medvedev would face unseeded American Christopher Eubanks. The surprise package of the men's draw in the last 8 as he beat Stefanos Tsitsipas in a 5-set thriller. Eubanks, who knocked out British #1 Cameron Norrie in the third round, caused another shock with a 3-6, 7-6, 3-6, 6-4, 6-4 victory over Tsitsipas. While in football, Super Eagles midfielder Alex Iwobi was among the Everton players that departed for a pre-season training camp in Switzerland. 26 players made the trip honest in a friendly at the Central Sportive de Corway complex on Friday. They have other friendly games lined up against Wigan Athletic, Bolton Wanderers, Stoke City, and Sporting Lisbon. Iwobi was named Everton's best player last season. He featured in all of the club's 38 Premier League games for last season. But that's it on sports. My name is Isaac. Over now to Simon Oko for trending entertainment news.
Why, thank you, Isaac. In the world of entertainment, veteran singer, songwriter, and ex-member of the defunct Plantation Boys, Amedu Augustine Obiabo, popularly known as Blackface, has accused Wizkid, Burna Boy, and Asake of intellectual property theft. The Ghetto Child crooner said the trio sampled his songs without his permission. He said the song Ginger by Wizkid and Burna Boy is a sample of his track Twist and Turn, the rhythms, the beat, how the melody starts and ends. Blackface also accused Asake of sampling his song in Joha. The veteran singer said he is not against young artists sampling his songs, but the manner in which they go about it without seeking his permission.
We first of all start to sample my music. Now Wizkid, when you do Baby Girl said I like the way you want it, ooh girl, I like the way you want it, with Banky W. And that song had already done it. Baby Girl said I like the way you little.
Moving forward, sensational Nigerian singer John Igodaro, popularly known as Johnny Drill, has revealed the inspiration behind his hit song, How Are You, My Friend? He said the death of the mother of his record label boss, Don Jazzy, inspired the song. Johnny Drill said he co-wrote the song. Comedian and filmmaker Ayo Makin, popularly known as AY, has revealed that his late mother's last advice to him before her passing shaped his life. The multi-talented entertainer, while recounting his last meeting with his late mother and his siblings, including renowned event planner Larry Makun and celebrity fashion designer Yomi Kajwa Makun, through school after their parents passed away. Away from that now, Nollywood actress Adesuwa Etomi Wellington, remember that Banky W on the 11th of November 2018 announced his intent to run for the Etiosa Federal Constituency seat on the platform of the Modern Democratic Party. He lost the Etiosa Federal Constituency election to Babajide Obani 23 elections on the platform of the People's Democratic Party PDP, and again lost to the Labour Party LP candidate Atta Thaddeus. Adesuwa said she was initially worried and disturbed when the singer revealed his intention to join PIE. Let's take a walk into the international scene now. Rock Nation Sports International, owned by American billionaire hip-hop mogul Jay-Z, has completed the acquisition of Brazilian football agency TFM agency. The acquisition was part of Rock Nation's expansion into the South American football market. TFM agency is home to global football stars, including Vinicius Jr., Martinelli, and Endrick. With the acquisition, the agency has been renamed Rock Nation Sports Brazil, with headquarters in Sao Paulo. TFM founder Federico Pena was also appointed head of Rock Nation Sports.
Of course, thank you very much, Simon Oko, and that's all we have for you tonight on Spectrum TV News at 9. I am Uyai Aniekan. Thanks for watching. I do hope that you follow us across all social media platforms, all of which you can find at Spectrum TV Thank you very much for being a part of this. We'll definitely see you again tomorrow. Do have a splendid night rest. Good night.